Welcome to News 8's Web Edition. New York State Attorney General Latitia James says she is bringing the Daniel Prude case before a grand jury. She came to Rochester to talk about the case today. Her office is investigating police action in connection with Prude's death and the protests that have followed. Adam Chodak reports.
Maureen, Attorney General Latitia James held her news conference here at Enon Missionary Baptist Church. She offered condolences to Daniel Prude's family, noting that today would have been his birthday. She said she couldn't get into the specifics of the case because it's going to a grand jury, but added the reason they're doing this is so they can consider charges for the police officers involved in Prude's death. She went on to say that she has not or did not see the body camera video until recently, and I asked her what she thought of it. She offered this very short answer. Latitia James says she visited both Buffalo and Rochester this weekend to, in her words, bring healing.
Unfortunately, these killings are nothing new, but more people are awakened to a truth that many of us have known for a long time. And so we need a full review about what it is the police currently do and a community-led reevaluation of what we, the public, would want them to do, especially when it comes in response to a mental health crisis.
As for the Prude case, James says she only recently watched the body cam video, which we're about to show, and she says she was outraged. She also said her office did not request that the city keep the video from becoming public, saying it was only the AG's policy not to release the video.
Whether or not they use that as an excuse to suppress the video is anyone's guess. But I'm confident that Ms. Summers did not intimate, suggest, or otherwise indicate to the authorities that they should suppress the video.
Good afternoon. I have directed the Deputy Mayor to initiate an internal management review of the city's handling of the mental hygiene arrest and subsequent death of Daniel Prude to determine who knew what and when. The public should have access to this information that we currently have now and any additional information when it becomes available. I ordered this review because my spirit has been unsettled, and I knew that I needed to take a step back and obtain a clearer picture of how the city of Rochester, including the RPD, handled the tragic death of Mr. Prude. I also knew that I could not take further action in this matter until this report was concluded. Frankly, the public should have been informed of Mr. Prude's death and the circumstances that led to his death in March, and accurately inform me about what occurred with Mr. Prude. He knows he needs to do better to truly protect and serve our community, and I believe that he will. Experiencing and ultimately dying from a drug overdose in police custody, as I was told by the chief, is entirely different than what I ultimately witnessed on the video provided to me by the law department on August 4th. I have since ordered the chief to provide me with video from any in-custody death or use of force incident within 24 hours. I have also ordered Chief Singletary to provide 2 briefings to me regarding both the criminal and internal aspects of the investigation immediately, and charged him to provide a plan within 30 days to further address our police department's response to mental health cause. I also want to be very clear today about what I knew about Mr. Prude's death and when I knew it. After our police department responded to the 911 call on March 23rd, I was informed later that day by Chief Singletary that Mr. Prude had an apparent drug overdose while in custody. Chief Singletary informed me of the actions of his officers to forcibly restrain Mr. Prude. I only learned of those officers' actions on August 4th, when Corporation Counsel Tim Curtin reviewed the video while fulfilling the FOIL request from Mr. Prude's attorney. At no time prior to August 4th did Chief Singletary or anyone make me aware or show me a video of the actions of the RPD officers involved in Mr. Prude's death. What I saw in that video was a man who needed help a man who needed compassion, a man who needed humanity, a man who we should have respected, a man who was in crisis. Our response to him was wrong.
Either way, James says this case prompted her to change policy in these cases. The AG's office will now release body cam video earlier and without input from local authorities.
This new policy will help to prevent instances where the public has been kept in the dark for far too long, such as what happened in the Prude case.
James also had a conversation today with local protesters, and on that note, she says that her civil rights division might investigate the interactions between protesters and police on the streets of the city of Rochester this month. Reporting from Rochester, Adam Chodak, News 8.
All right, thank you, Adam. Today, protesters with Free the People Rock are celebrating what would have been Daniel Prude's birthday. Hundreds of people are gathering right now for this event. The group organized a celebration at Martin Luther King Jr. Park downtown. They've also been protesting for more than 2 straight weeks after finding out about Prude's death. Most recently, protesters have been posted outside City Hall calling for the resignation of Rochester Mayor Lovely Warren. But today, they say it's all about celebrating Prude's life and his family's efforts to bring justice for him. We will hear from organizers at this event tonight on News 8 at 11. Now for this weekend's mass shooting in Rochester. So far, police have made no arrests after 16 people were shot at a house party on Pennsylvania Avenue early Saturday morning. 2 people were killed. Police say 4 to 5 people at the party got into a fight and decided to settle it with guns. This tragedy was another example of Rochester's gun violence problem. According to Rochester police data, there have been more than 180 shootings this year, with more than 200 total victims. Jack Watson joining us now from the newsroom. Jack, this is truly a very tough issue, and it is bad this year.
Absolutely, Maureen. Police data says the amount of shootings this year has already surpassed last year's total, which was just over 150. This weekend's mass shooting is already being called one of the worst acts of gun violence in our city's history. Rochester City Councilman Willie Lightfoot leads the Rock Against Gun Violence Coalition aimed at ending gun violence in the city. In an interview today with me, he gave condolences to the victims' families. He tells me Rochester is hurting right now, and too few people think through the consequences when they decide to use a gun.
People have to have a better accountability as to not pulling the trigger. You know, we have a saying in our Rock Against Gun Violence. We have billboards all over the city. A shot from a gun can't be undone. Think about it. You know, think about what that's going to do to yourself. Loss of life of you going to prison, to that family that has lost a life and that's mourning and that can never get that life back.
Maureen, that coalition meets a few times a year. Next Wednesday, the 30th, the coalition will meet over Zoom to talk about its efforts to eradicate gun violence in Rochester. We will dive deeper into the gun violence issue in our city tonight at 11, Maureen.
All right, Jack, thank you. We continue our coverage now with Josh Navarro, who found a community in mourning over the 2 young people who were killed this weekend. Counselors were available at both UPrep Charter School and East High School, the alma mater of these students. Josh Navarro spoke to school leaders today about healing. Josh?
Maureen, it was a somber atmosphere at both schools where Jarvis Alexander and Jaquela Johnson attended. Students and staff were heartbroken to lose these students during a senseless act of violence, according to them. Over at East High School, we learned more about Jaquela Johnson, that is. She was a cheerleader and on the dance team. School officials say she had a passion for writing. Meantime, UPrep also opened their doors today so students could lean on each other and heal. UPrep is where Jarvis Alexander was an outstanding athlete, a former football player and track star. I spoke to UPrep CEO. Here's what he had to say about Jarvis.
He showed us what perseverance looks like. He wasn't always the best student, and then he changed. He realized that he saw his potential. He realized that he had a bright future ahead of him.
Now, both schools have sent their condolences to both families. Coming up at 11, we'll hear from Jarvis's coach and close classmates. In the studio, I'm Josh Navarro, News 8.
All right, Josh, thank you. Rochester police say hundreds of people were at the party when violence broke out, and they are asking anyone with information to come forward.
Thanks for watching the King Nigel Show. I will continue this in a 2-part series. Be easy out there, and y'all be safe. Thanks for watching.